At first glance, today's scenario looks not so bad. I have a coffee which is still hot, and that's not so normal. This is with cinnamon, makes it even better. I have a journal which is ready to get embellished, and I'm really motivated to work with dried plants, dried leaves, dried petals from flowers, because the printable which I've used for making this journal, you can see it at first glance, that needs no explanation. This is my printable paper collection called Dried Gatherings, and as you can see, this is, dried stuff from nature, let's call it like that. And I want to combine real dried plants with this printable. But my problem is that I always have problems with gluing down those dried things. For example, I have these hydrangea petals. I think that is not the right word. These are, the top part. You can see what it is. I'm sorry. And I really like this shape. And these are, as you can see, compared to my hand, these giant hydrangeas. And I would love to glue them down somewhere here. I also have some of these leaves here. I got these and also these from my father. So he has collected them and dried them for me. And then he has shipped them from Germany to me here to Austria. And I really appreciate that I have those. But my problem is, if I want to glue these down, I have several different options which are not working for me. So when I go through my options of glues, I have this. And all of these glues are really, really good. I don't want to say anything bad about these glues. If they weren't good, they wouldn't be in my craft room. But I use these glues for different techniques, for different things to glue, and I really love each of these glues, But for gluing down dried things, they are not working for me. With this Liquitex matte gel and also with the collage medium from Ranger, you can glue nearly everything. But I have the problem when I take this or this and I have to put that onto my page with a paintbrush and then put the leaf on top and put another layer of glue, then it's like it takes a relatively long time until the glue grabs, and that makes the leaf moving a lot, and that is it's just annoying. It really kills my nerves. This Mod Podge is relatively beige. It's this it's called Antique Matte Mod Podge. So it's this like vanilla color. Really cool for other things, really cool for altering photos or whatever. But it brings also this like rubber finish to a dried botanical thingy. This here, this is the hard coat Mod Podge. It dries relatively, hard. The surface is not what I want to have in my journals. And this is the junk journal glue by Funkelkram. This is a German brand. This glue is really, really good for everything, but it doesn't work for me for gluing dried things. So those are not options for me, because I also want to have the possibility to work with different other mediums in combination with dried leaves and flowers. So I thought about a solution, and I would like to show you my solution today. I'm a little bit unorganized today because I already recorded the German video and my table is looking like a bomb has fallen to it. But I'm so excited to share this with you because I'm hoping that it can be a solution for you as well. So let's do this. I have taken this paper here. This I want to turn into a journaling card for my journal later. And I can recommend that you test this method on a loose piece of paper instead of doing that directly in your journal. Because what I'm showing you today is something that works for me, that works with what I'm showing you. Yeah, I will tell you about this paper in a second as well. But that doesn't mean that it works with every paper that is existing in this world. Yeah, because I can only test this with the papers I have, but I'm assuming that it will work with 99.9% of the papers that you might have in your journals. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to find something that I can put on here, like a test, and I know that it will work, but you know, if you want to make a test, then you could do it like this as well, and just, you know, take one leaf and perhaps also take a background which is not so important for you, and if it doesn't work, then it's not so extremely bad. That would look really nice as well, but I'm not so sure. I think I want to go with this color, because this color here matches really well with the oxidation I have on this paper here. So this paper is matte photo paper. I have talked about that in the past very often. You will also find a playlist linked down below this video. The playlist is called Magic with Matte Photo Paper, and there I show you all of the techniques I have done with this photo paper. The special thing about this is that if you use distress ink or distress oxide ink or any other distress medium on this photo paper, then it gets waterproof in the end. So that means with this, we won't have a problem with using, for example, a Mod Podge or collage medium or something like that. If we would put that on here with a paintbrush, then nothing would smear on this paper. But imagine you have a normal paper, or you use something like packaging paper or normal copy paper or whatever, even watercolor paper or something like that, and you have a water-soluble medium on your paper, and you would glue the leaves or flowers down with something like gel medium or any other liquid glue, then you would smear your complete background with your paintbrush. That will not happen with what I'm showing you today here. So please have that in mind. Also, if you want to stamp to the background with, let's say, a water-soluble ink, no problem with my method. I will take this stamp here. Where is my acrylic block, please? Here. And I will take this. Oh, by the way, if you want to know where this gorgeous stamp comes from, it's from this set here. This is called Mixed Media CMS 125 by Stampers Anonymous and Tim Holtz. This is a little bit older, but this is just amazing. I'm so in love. I have this new, and I'm so in love, especially with this stamp. And I'm going to stamp today with VersaFine Claire. I have this new because I wanted to try something different to what I have used before. For stamping in black, I have for a very long time used StazOn ink, but my problem with StazOn ink is that it is sometimes relatively sticky, especially when I use it with my stamping platform, and I want to stamp, you know, several generations of the same stamp in the same place. It has sticked to my paper so much that I couldn't work with my stamping platform with StazOn ink, because the paper moved, because the ink was so sticky that my paper sticked to the stamp. And so I've tried this, and I must say this is really black. It's really, really intense, and I really like that. An alternative would be archival ink. I don't have the big archival ink ink pad, but if you, and that's the reason why I use this, because inking a stamp of this size with this small ink pad is relatively, you know, difficult. Not impossible, but yeah, this would be an alternative. Archival ink, this is Black Soot. This is also available in a bigger size, but you can use StazOn as well, yeah? Please don't get me wrong. So when we have that, we have a nice background, I think. Do we like this? Yeah, I think I like that, but it is a little bit plain, isn't it? So let's take perhaps something like this here. I want to use this. This is from etc. The number is CMS 302, also by Stampers Anonymous and Tim Holtz. And I really like this because we have some writing there, and we can perhaps make a little bit more interesting things on the left and the right, and perhaps even there on the top to balance the black on this background a little bit. But please, I'm doing this because I want to turn this later on into a journaling card, and I want to show you, I mean, that card will then go into my journal. If you want to try that out, you can also try it out without stamping first. If you first want to see if it works for you, then just leave this out, which is, you know, time consuming. It's fun, but it takes a little time. I think you know what I mean. But I am doing that so that I later on can turn that into my journaling card, and that is ready to go, you know, for my journal. So I think now I like this better. And of course I want to show you how this can look if you have stamped to the background. Yeah, but that should be clear. I really like this. Yeah. So now we want to glue these little guys down. What are we going to need for that, for my method? We are going to need something like this or a piece of paper. Then we are going to need some embossing ink. You can use this embossing dabber, or you could also use an embossing ink pad. I will tell you in a second why I'm going to use this. It would work, of course, with this, but this thing for me is easier. And then my solution is called sticky embossing powder. This is basically a glue, which is a powder. You can use that exactly like you would use every other embossing powder or embossing glaze. But when you heat this up, it gets sticky. Then you can stick something to this, you know, sticky thing. And when it's dry, it sticks there and it's not sticky anymore. Do you know what I mean? I mean, when it's dry, it dries like a normal glue. So how are we going to do this? We are going to take the petal, and then I'm going to turn that around because I want to have the glue here on the back, of course. I'm going to, yeah, like hammer this to the leaf. And I say hammer because normally if this was a stamp and you would use this on a stamp, you would not hammer it. But here, oh no! Here we want to have a lot of this here, or a lot is probably not correct. We want to have this everywhere. Yeah, so that's why I'm hammering a little bit so that we get a little more here, because, you know, this is not like a stamp. It's you know, the surface is totally different. And then when I have that there and I can see that this gets shiny, and I can see I have some of the embossing ink on it, that it looks like this. But can you see that it's not equally spread over the whole surface? And because of that, of course I want that, because of that I'm taking this and I'm doing something that I would never do with a stamp. Yeah, please don't be confused, and don't do that with a stamp. So I take this and I go over that like so that I can spread this embossing ink to the whole surface of this thing here. And I'm going to do this with this with this little leaf as well, so that I get this covered with this. Same for this here. hammering first and then just rub over it a little bit so that you can cover the whole surface. Just like this. Then I'm rubbing over it a little bit. And look, this happened here now. That's not so nice, but it's also not a problem. If you would put like one of those glues that I have just shown you to the paper and do that with a paintbrush, then, and that would happen, then you would have a really big problem. I mean, for some people it wouldn't be a problem, but for me it is a problem. When I have pieces of my dried leaves, for example, on my paintbrush, because I went over it with the glue on it, and then, you know, something breaks off and you have that on the paintbrush. It makes me, it drives me crazy. And here I have the chance, if something is falling apart, it's not on my card or not on my page yet, so that I still have the chance to think, do I want to take a new one, or can I put that back together? Can I repair that? But if that happens directly on my card, then it's in the most cases too late, isn't it? So we're going to take this, and now I'm just placing these little guys in here. And I'm going to take my sticky embossing powder and I throw it on here just like this was something I want to emboss, yeah, so like you would do it with any other embossing powder as well. And then we are going to try to get these out here. And as you can see, of course, I've covered that, and there's a little bit sticking on the other side. That doesn't matter. Just take some tweezers, take a dry paintbrush and go over that to get rid of this. Again, like you would do it with any other embossing powder as well. Make sure that the back of your piece looks like this. I'm not like flicking, hopefully that's the right word, with my finger here to the piece. I want to have this here relatively thick. I mean, look, it is not that thick. It is not so much, but if you would do it like so, then a lot of this would fall off. And of course, the strength of the glue would be then perhaps not so extreme anymore. So when I have that, I can place this here, exactly there where I want to glue that down later. Is that good? I think so. So let's search for the others. Here, there's not so much on the other side. And if you have some areas here which are not covered by the embossing powder, don't care about that. If it's on the very edge, it could be a tiny problem, but if it's in the middle here, that really doesn't matter, because in a second I will take my iron to glue this down. I will not do this with my embossing tool, with my heat tool, but I will use an iron, and because of the pressure of the iron, the glue can spread out even if you have some areas which are not covered. Absolutely no problem. So we are going to place this here, just like so. And can we find the single petal here? Oh yes, here it is. So with this the same. So then here you can see it's clean from this side and covered from this side. So let's see how we can position this so that it looks good. I think I want to have this with a little distance. Does this look weird or artsy? Let's try it. Let's just try it. So the next thing that we are going to need is a piece of baking paper. Don't be confused. I'm just folding this in the middle because I have some dirt here. That is just some embossing glaze, but don't care about that. Just take a piece of baking paper. I use baking paper because if it happens that some of the sticky embossing powder gets next to the leaves, yeah, instead of staying underneath, you could remove this later without any problems. This would not stick to your project. So I'm going to place this here, and then I take my iron, which is already heated up really well. I have put that on the maximum what my iron can do without steam. By the way, I'm working on this cardboard here because, you know, when you heat up paper with an iron, there comes this little bit of, like, how is that said in English? Yeah, it's steam that turns into wet stuff, like wet steam. I have no idea if that is understandable. I want to go over this another time. I'm not sure if it is totally melted. This takes a little bit of practice, I would say, to yeah, you have to feel when it's done, but it goes really, really fast. Can we please just meditate a little bit about this, because it's on here now and it will not come off. And you don't have any glue around this. You don't have glue on these areas which would then hinder to use other mediums. You know, if I would have collage medium on here, that could make some problems with other techniques that I want to do on this paper later. I can still use my background paper like I would use it without these hydrangeas on it. And this looks really accurately glued. Oh, holy crap. Do you know what I mean? No glue is coming out here. And with other things, it can look, I mean, with other glues, it can look really ugly if glue comes out here and you can see how it is glued down. Here you can't even see how it's attached. And another cool thing is, please try to listen. I think you can hear and also see that this breaks, of course. Yeah, when I do it like this, of course it starts breaking because this is dry and the paper is flexible, and when I do it like this, it breaks. The same with any other method, I would say, as well, except you would seal this. Yeah, and now when you have this and you think, oh, my leaves or my petals are so fragile that this would come off with the time, you can still take collage medium. So let's do an example here and go over only the petals to seal them. Yeah, if you would have used the collage medium to glue the petals down, then you would probably have collage medium all over your card here, and now you have the chance to just take that with a paintbrush and go over the surface of these little guys here, and but only over the surface and not over the whole card. And that makes it also relatively interesting to me when we talk about mixed media techniques, because I like to have different surfaces in my journals, and I like to play with glossy, medium glossy and matte surfaces. And now you have this really beautiful finish of the collage medium only on the petals. It seals them at the same time. It's so fast. You can go over this without having problems that the flowers fall off, because I mean, they stick down with this sticky embossing powder. Yeah, there can't happen anything anymore. And now we can let this dry, go on to the next thing, and when this is dry, it's just, you know, sealed, it can't fall off. And the collage medium, when this is dry, gets a little bit like, it gets this leathery feeling. In my journal here, I have one page, that is the one that I have shown you in the beginning, where I have glued this one leaf. And then I was like, what? Here, look, I have done that with collage medium. And you can see, hopefully, that this glossy, it's not glossy, but you know, it's semi-glossy. But this finish is all over this whole area here, yeah, because somehow you have to spread it out, and then you get this like equal surface, and that is relatively boring. This works as well, but it takes, you know, I would say, I want to say something, but I don't know how to say that in English. I mean, the other method is way faster than this. Yeah, this took ages. So, yeah. And of course, you can also do this directly in your journal. Yeah, if you, for example, have a page, let's say we have this page here, and we want to add something here to the digital paper. By the way, ooh, this looks great. I will link this collection, Dried Gatherings, down below this video for you, so that you can check that out. There are 3 items in this collection which are available in my shop. There's Junk Journal Pages Volume 1, Junk Journal Pages Volume 2, and an ephemera pack available. Where are my other ginkgo leaves? I mean, that can't be the only one. What the heck? Is that possible? Where are they? Holy crap. Okay, so let's take perhaps one of these. That's perhaps even more interesting to have different leaves here. Oh, I like that. I really like that. So now the challenge is, of course, to do this down without freaking out, without ruining the journal. But that is really easy. We are going to take a piece of cardboard that doesn't have to be this thick. Can be also something a little bit thinner, but it should be sturdy, because when you touch your page, you can feel you don't have an even surface here. And of course, you don't want to like wiggling your iron around, because that could perhaps break the plans, or it could happen that the sticky embossing powder is melting not so regularly, and we don't want to ruin the journal. We are going to check on the back of our page if there's something that could be ruined by heat. Yeah, so here's just the printable, nothing could be ruined. But if you have areas which are already embossed with embossing powder, then don't do it. Don't use your iron here, because you would remelt the powder here. Check if you have some things which are sealed with, for example, Mod Podge or gel medium or something like that, and make sure that you don't put too much heat to those areas, otherwise that could stick to this. Yeah, you want to make sure that there's nothing that could be like reactivated or get sticky in combination with heat. Then we are going to take our leaves and we are going to do the same procedure. We can wonder about this amount of embossing powder there and why it is there, but problem solved. And while I'm doing this here, and I do exactly the same thing like before, I want to say a very, very big thank you to all of you, because there are actually 2 things which made me really happy. It's not only 2 things, but 2 things that I want to mention here. The first thing is your reaction to my Dried Gatherings printable. It was just amazing. When I saw your reactions and I got all of your messages, it still makes me just so happy that you like this collection. and that you have like, it was like a little storm in my shop, which makes me really, really happy. To be honest, I haven't expected that reaction. Yeah, I like this paper, otherwise it wouldn't be in my shop, and I was like excited to work with it. I told you in the video where I have shown you this journal and showed you the paper collection that I have made this paper also for myself, yeah, because of those problems with the dried plants, and it was a relatively egoistic reason to do that. But of course, it makes me total. That is German. It makes me totally happy when you like that as well and you buy that for your collection. So if you want to have this paper, and perhaps you are new here or you have missed the other video, you will find the links to the papers from my shop down below this video. And the second thing is, on this day today, this day where I record this video, when I woke up in the morning, I saw that my YouTube channel has reached 40k subscribers. And I mean, I knew that that will probably someday happen, but when it's then happening, it's really, really crazy. I mean, 40k, what the heck? When I say that, it's like, on the one hand, totally unbelievable. On the other hand, there are so many memories of things that I have done in the past to reach this goal. And when I say reach this goal, I feel weird because I never saw that as a goal. Do you know what I mean? When you have 500 subscribers, then you think, oh my goodness, that is a lot. And then it gets more and more and more. And the more it gets, the more unbelievable it gets. And now it's 40k. Oh my goodness. So that means you can expect a 40k special. I have some things in my mind that I'm working on at the moment for you. I have just spilled some powder here to my pages. Try to avoid that, otherwise, you know, it could stick where you don't want to have it sticky. But, you know, paintbrush is really helpful so that you can get rid of that if that accidentally happened. So I have some plans and I'm working on those plans right now. Not right now, but you know, when I finish the video, I will prepare this 40k special video, and I have some surprises for you. I have some things that are going to come to my channel in the near future, some surprises, so make sure that you stay tuned. And you know me, there's going to come a giveaway, yeah, of course, but please give me some more days to manage that and to get the video ready. Thanks. Here, if you want this to stick exactly here, then there's a trick. Take your right hand, press down the page so that it can't come off, I mean up. Take your finger and put it here to the very edge of your leaf so that you know here it stays, and the rest, you know, it will stay automatically there where it is now. Take this, place that down, press then with your left hand to the baking paper so that you now press to the baking paper and the leaf, of course, so that it stays in place. And then take your iron and carefully, without, please don't burn your finger, go over this and just place it here. If you want to glue more than one leaf to one page, I can recommend to do that leaf by leaf, not, you know, not all of the leaves at the same time. If it doesn't matter for your page design, then of course you could do that. If you, for example, would make like a masterboard or something like that, And it is not important that here the stem of the leaf is going into this stick here. Then you could also place them randomly and go over that with your iron in one step. But this way, of course, on this page here, of course, I want to have the leaves in that position that I've decided in the beginning. So this shall go here. Here's this little, can you see this little thing? And I try to line that up here so that it looks like it comes out from there. And here, this could make a little problem, because can you see this? I think I have to change this to something thinner, because I have this little edge there, and that makes, just have to destroy my notepad, that makes this problem that I can't go over that with my iron so well. So we could take something like this as well. It's just from, it's the back of a notepad. This is like, you know, a little bit sturdier than the pages, so that I hopefully can iron this without any problems and have, yeah, that should work. You can test that, you know, if you press down here and you can't feel those irregular areas like, you know, you would feel here. When I touch this, I can feel, for example, the die cut, which is on the other side. Here, it feels like smooth. I can only feel this. And if you have that, then that is thick enough. So hopefully that makes sense. So I'm lining this up here, press with my finger here so that this can't move anymore. And it stays in place there. Then I take this baking paper, press down here where the leaf is, hope for the best, and then, oh no, the cable of my, oh no, holy crap, the cable of my iron just wanted to marry the cable of my heat tool. And it also sometimes helps to stand up from your chair. I'm doing that right now so that I have a better control over the pressure of my iron, and that I also can vary the angle better. You know, all of that stuff there is a little bit in the way. So, and the cool thing is you don't have to worry about touching the ginkgo leaf, in this case, with your iron. You don't have to be afraid of remelting the sticky embossing powder. That will not happen. And even I'm not totally sure if it is remeltable or not, to be honest. I haven't tried that yet. But even if it would remelt a little bit, that will be absolutely no problem. Nothing would happen there. And now you have this here. Look, and even these little guys, this is really thin. They are glued down really, really secure. And look how cool this is, and how cool that looks, and how fast that is. I mean, the page is still flat. This is flat. Do you know what I mean? So cool. I'm so in love. And this way you could just embellish a whole journal within an hour or so. I mean, depending on how thick the journal is, of course. So before I flip the page, I make sure that this is cool, yeah, because if we had some glue, like a tiny bit, which was pressed out here, then this would be sticky until it's cool, of course, yeah. So make sure that you check this before you flip the page, otherwise your pages would be glued together. But even, I mean, it didn't happen here, yeah. Can you see? I mean, it's like on the card as well. This is so accurately glued. No glue. I mean, no mistakes of glue. I don't know how to say that in English. Okay, so then, and that is something that I just found out in the German video. I have already recorded my German video. You know, I always do both languages. And I found out something that was really fascinating, and I want to share that with you as well. So if you are still here, thank you. So let's search for a page, and I can say I think it will blow your mind. So let's try it on this page. I'm really excited if it will work like it worked on the other page a second time. Let's see. Here we have a die cut. This is glued down with collage medium. This should be no problem with heat from the other side. Why is this broken? But it looks relatively interesting, doesn't it? I like that. But it looks a tiny little bit weird. I think I have 3 billion more of these leaves. So let's take just one that is intact, but I want to have one that is relatively big. This is so cool because the pattern here is so big. And perhaps it has to be like this. I really like it. I really like it. So let's first glue down both of these exactly with the same method like we've done it before. And another thing, I leave this with the sticky embossing powder here next to me because it would completely destroy my nerves if I would have to put the embossing powder back to the little jar after each leaf. Yeah, that would be so time consuming that it would be not manageable for me. If you would, for example, emboss a stamp impression or something like that, you would also, you know, stamp and then put the powder on top and get rid of the rest. You would not take the page or the card or whatever you have and put it in there like so. But in this case, I see no reason why I can't do it like that. And I can even use it, you know, like a little shuffle. And then, I think that's the word, you know, this thing when you get rid of snow in the winter. Shuffle? Schaufel in German. But in this case, it's important that you get the powder to the back of the leaf. And if you get something here, it's not the big deal. A big deal. You can just get rid of it by, you know, using a paintbrush. And it's not about getting a nice embossed impression. Yeah, it's just about getting this on here. You could even, oh, this works as well. Haha, look, you can also do it like this. That's even easier. And if your leaf has a stem, make sure that you have some of the sticky embossing powder on the stem as well. Otherwise, it wouldn't glue there. If that happens, you can still take a tiny amount of glue later and glue that down. Yeah, when you have problems with that, that would be no big deal. So I will do this again separately. I will take this to have a good surface to work on. Baking paper, take the iron. And do you know what I really can't believe? I mean, I've talked about the 40K subscribers a second ago. And there are so many of you who have written, oh, I follow you from the very beginning and I know you since such a long time and I know everything that you have done. I can even remember this or that video or your very first video or the video where you have done this and that or that, you know. And that is just so crazy how well you know me. That is just so crazy. And where did I have that? Was this here like so? What about this little berry? Yeah, but it has to go here. Yeah, like so. And that is, it's just so crazy. Just so crazy. It's like you are here with me and it's like we knew each other in person, and that makes the whole thing even more special and even more unbelievable, because you are, you know, somewhere probably on the other end of the world, and it feels like you are here and you know everything about me. Do you know what I mean? And that is just amazing, and I am so thankful that I have you in my life and that all of you are here with me. That is just, I even can't bring that into words. But now let's try something. let's first decide about a color. Let's take some bundled sage embossing glaze. I have used bundled sage oxide ink in this journal, so this should be a great color. And of course you can take the dabber or you can take an embossing ink pad. You can now also decide if you want to use an acrylic block for stamping or not. I will do it freehand because I don't want to have a really clear impression of this later. And now I'm doing a little finger dance here on the stamp to get a relatively, oh my goodness, loose impression of that. And of course it wasn't supposed to be black. That is just the, oh my goodness, I'm so stupid. That's because I haven't cleaned the stamp after I had used this ink pad. I'm sorry. Perhaps we will get something nice as well, but that was not planned. But we are junk journaler. We are happy about this and we don't freak out. Okay, so let's take a piece of paper. You could alternatively also take, oh my goodness, also take something like this, but you know, I have this in here at the moment and I don't have a second of these, so I'm just using the paper. And then I take my embossing glaze. And if you've never heard about embossing glaze, let me quickly explain what the difference to embossing powder is. This is translucent, so that means, I mean, I'm expecting that the effect will not be so extremely because of this black here. Yeah, that will change the look, I think, relatively extremely, but we will see what we will get here now. But when you put embossing glaze to, for example, a printable, or also the leaves, die cuts, or whatever, you can see through it, but it still has the color. So you will get a really cool mix of the color the glaze has and the color your background has. And that makes it really interesting. And of course it doesn't cover up everything. Yeah. So normally, you know, you would, if you would have a card or something, you would have an easier job with getting the powder here to the paper. But as you can see, even if you have the journal already bound, you can easily emboss areas on a page. But I want to have some more of this stamp impression here because it crosses the leaf here, and I want to have some of that here as well, some of that effect. So I'm hoping that I get a little bit of the black from the stamp as well now, because then it would match the impression that we got here. So let's see if that is possible. Just press it down, little finger dance. Oh, it's black. Just wonderful. So let's throw the glaze on here as well. And now I'm going to take a heat gun first to melt the embossing glaze. And I say first because I will do another thing after that. And that gave me really surprising results in the German video, and I'm hoping that I get something like this here as well again. Oh, with this little bit of, can you see that? With this little bit of gray or black It looks really, really interesting. But now you can see, you can even emboss with glaze or embossing powder. Normal embossing powder would work as well, over the leaves, yeah, and they won't come off. They will stay here. Yeah. I feel like this sounds so arrogant, but I'm so happy that I found this out. And I mean, how crazy fast was that? If I wouldn't talk and explain what my thoughts are, this would be even faster. Imagine how fast you could do that and how well it sticks. But now, listen, look, this, of course, is now glossy, because embossing glaze is glossy. Yeah, how can I show that to you if you have never seen it? This is how it looks, totally glossy. Have that in mind. We have a lot of yellow here. So I'm going to take some embossing glaze fossilized amber. I think that can be a nice contrast. And at this point, I can't tell you if what I'm doing now would work with normal embossing powder as well. I have only tried it with embossing glaze yet. This step would, of course, work with embossing powder as well in exactly the same way, but the result will be different. You would have this as an opaque area. This would be not translucent with embossing powder, yeah? But what I'm doing now, I can't tell you if that will work with embossing powder as well. But with glaze, it's like this. I'm going to take a little spoon. And now I'm throwing this on here relatively randomly, but it only looks randomly. I'm thinking I want to have it here where the dots meet this. I want to have it go over the leaf and then a little bit to the right so that we can connect it with this area, you know, that the eye can connect it with this area here on the bottom. For demonstrating this effect, I will put a little bit more to the leaf itself, also here, but please do that just like you want it and try out different things. And now I'm going to take my baking paper again, and I just have to make sure that I have a clean one. This should be no problem. If you have used your baking paper several different times, it can happen that you get some of the glaze, this was an accident, to the baking paper. Make sure that you don't have this in contact with your iron. Yeah, otherwise you would have some sticky problems here. So now I'm trying to get this in here again. Please do that before you add the embossing glaze. That was not so clever. And then we're going to take this, and of course, what will happen now? The yellow glaze, fossilized amber, will melt now with the heat of the iron. The bundled sage, the green glaze, will melt as well. It will remelt. But the crazy thing is, can you see? It stays in this round shape. It doesn't spread. It is doing some really interesting and somehow weird things that brought me some thoughts in the German video, and I still have not such a professional answer to the question, what the heck is happening here? Because this, in a second, will look really interesting. And there's going to happen something with the first layer of the glaze. You will see that in a second. If it is doing the same here now, like an hour ago when I did it for the first time. And the idea behind this is to, get a random pattern of the embossing glaze color to this whole thing, to get some more interest, to get also some of the glaze to the leaves. You can do that with the stamping method, of course, like we've done it with bundled sage, but this gives a more uncontrollable and artsy thing, I would say. Now it is important that you let this cool down completely. Perhaps you have seen last year's DEPHEMEREMBER. That is a daily series with my junk journal sister Barbara at 49 Dragonflies. Hi Barbara. And we are going to do this December daily series this year again, by the way, for the third time. But what I'm trying to say is I tried out a technique with embossing powder and baking paper and heat during last year's DEPHEMEREMBER for one of the prompts. And there I tried out this technique I've learned by Marion. I think her name is Marion Amberson. Hope that is right. And I was so amazed by that technique. I will link the video where I have done that for the first time down below in the description box for you. And she also says with every of these like variations of the technique, let this cool down. Yeah, let this cool down completely. Otherwise you will get really strange results. But when it's cool and you take it off, yeah, and the same thing happened. That is so crazy. What can we see here? It looks so gorgeous. I mean, I'm sure it's a personal thing. It has to do with my excitement about this solution that I can glue down my leaves now like this, and that I have a solution for that. But at the same time, this is it's just amazing what the glaze is doing with the leaves, and especially with the pattern of the leaves. Look how cool this here looks now. And the crazy thing is, the glaze here is, can you see that? It's a mix out of matte and shiny. Can you see it? There, where the baking paper touched the glaze completely, it gets matte. There, where those like creases in the leaf are, and the baking paper is like not going in there, it stays glossy. And the most crazy thing is that it got matte here as well. We have now here a mixture of matte and glossy areas. Even if the stamp impression has the same shape. Do you know what I mean? I haven't destroyed my dots here, even if I had added another like layer of heat. Do you know what I mean? Here it's totally glossy. The heat hasn't touched the glaze here. I have problems to show that. Can you see it now? It's glossy there, and approximately from here to here it turned matte because of the iron and the heat. Here the same. The more deeper areas of the leaf are glossy and the rest is matte. And this is it's just crazy. But we can be happy about this, yeah? And I am, to be honest, I can't explain it. I can't explain it so well. I don't know why it gets this matte with the baking paper. But that's not necessary because it's great and we can just do it. But the most crazy thing is, yeah, and it happened here as well. Look, it came through to the other page. Look, in some cases I would say that can be annoying. In this case I like it. But the thing is, this, and I'm hoping that I can show you that now somehow, this got translucent now as well. Now you can see it. Can you see how translucent the page got? What you can see there, this light yellow above and here below the leaf, it's not the page itself, yeah, it's the light that comes through from the other side. Normally if I have the page flat, it looks like this, and when I lift it up so that my light can go through it, it's like this. And this is even more autumn. It looks like a waxed paper without this crazy waxy feeling. Yeah, this is just crazy. When you have this and you sit there and you can lift it up. I don't know, can you see that? That is so hard to show, but from my angle, yeah, where I can look to the page, it looks like sun which is coming through leaves in autumn. I think this is just the beginning of something bigger. So I'm hoping that you like this. I hope you will try this out, and I'm hoping we will see you the next time. Have a very great and creative day, and see you. Bye bye.